Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on July 15th, 2023 at approximately 4:27 p.m. PST. Now, I returned to this world for one primary purpose, and that is to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life, and the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same ones that I actually guide my life by. Now, I figured I might just well see what I could do, take a look at something a little different. And today, we're going to take a look at the nature of ghosts. Not, and when I'm talking the nature, I don't mean are they evil? Are they good? Are they bad? Are they evil? Are they what? I'm referring to what drives them. Now, on the whole, you got to remember ghosts are simply people without a body. Okay. Now, there's a lot of different names for ghosts, not the least of which is apparitions, phantoms. There's a lot of different things people call them. Ghosts on the most common one is usually E. Four or five E's all back to back. Usually that's what most people call them when they see them. For me, I call many of them friends. But what is a ghost? Well, a ghost is literally a person. If we take the soul as the person, your physical body, that's when you're human or when you're a dog or when you're an alien, it doesn't matter. Okay, the corporeal body is kind of like, are you driving a Maserati, as in an extreme athlete? Are you driving an RC? Are you, in other words, a computer programmer? Okay, are you driving a dune buggy? Are you a surfer, a beach bum, that sort of thing? Okay, every person has their own type of vehicle. The ghost is what you are when the vehicle is missing. Okay, so when you take a look at that, there is a lot that can change. But the first thing we have to realize is, on the whole, ghosts are not evil. Now, yes, there are certainly some that are bad-natured. Okay, not the least of which is that wonderful little ghost that we all know from Amityville. Not a nice chap. Okay, although in all fairness, I wouldn't mind dropping by there one day just to get a look at the house itself. But I'm not talking about a ghost hunt. I always get a kick out of it. Let's go hunting a ghost. Usually when people think about hunting, you're trying to kill something. Neat trick. Ghost is already dead. So we take a look at that, and when we look at the ghosts themselves, all you've got is a non-corporeal entity. In other words, it can already pass through solid objects. But that's where the real interesting side of it is nothing, even according to basic Terran science, nothing is solid. There's space between the atoms. Okay, now the ironic reality there is there really isn't space between the atoms, but your ghost is traveling at the right vibratory rate to pass through. Emmy, you are in with the gold. And Joe comes in right behind. Ouch. Right behind you with the silver. Ghosts are a wonderful group of people if you get to use them, if you get to know them. And fortunately, I know people that just recently have started actually seeing them. And we have Las Vegas in with the bronze, and Susan Ahern, the happy medium, is now in with the honorable mention. Welcome aboard, Susan. Very happy to have you here. Now, just before we get underway, a quick little reminder. If you've got questions, if you're in the chat room and you have questions, even if they are not in the same topic we are talking about at the moment. Put your questions in anyway. Doesn't matter what the topic. Okay. Put your questions in, but do me a favor and put them in all caps. In this way, I can actually find them. Okay. Now, this ought to be an entertaining little problem. I wonder what my temperature in here is. But put them in all caps or put that fine little wavy hand. All caps in my world are not yelling at me. They are simply putting a difference in the typing so that you can get my attention. What I'm looking for right now, in all fairness, okay, we are looking at 34, which is 68, which is 106. Is 96. In the house, I'm looking at 96 degrees. Okay, roughly. Oh, 35, 70. So we're pushing 100 degrees in the house right now. Okay, now, what do we got going on here? When you look at ghosts, now, here's a cute thought. Okay, how many of you have been taught to fear ghosts or to fear the dead? Football, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust, as per usual, your day has been hectic. Don't need that. That's for dang certain. And yeah, I don't. Unlike what I was told one day by somebody that I'm very unprofessional because I don't sit still. I'm supposed to sit in one place and stare unmoving into the camera. Now, why that is, I've yet to figure out. Okay, from my way of looking at it, this is just me. Yeah, I don't doubt that at all. Football is just going hectic in my mind. It's funny when I was looking at mine. I'm going to stay as much as possible with the ghosts. Okay, except for one little detail. If I have my way, unlike what I had the other day on a few weeks back on Nathan's show, on Nathan's show, I decided, hey, what a neat idea. Let's have a minor heart attack while we're online. That's always good for a laugh. Not. Okay, so I'm doing my best to keep that down. I wonder if I actually brought water. I know I brought coffee. And yes, I even have water, so that's good. But, the way I look at it is this. I do want to move that where it belongs because I know there are people that are going to end up in here, and we got to have this stuff sorted around. In case you hadn't noticed, I'm not necessarily the most organized person I can be. There's an interesting question. Yeah, that one you guys are going to have to sort out. Football's just dropped an interesting question into Emmy. Why do you think Calvin left Abnormal Investigations? Now, the funny part about it, and I'm going to let you guys know, although any of you that have been here, if you see chatter like this in the room, do understand I don't have a problem with it. Okay? And the reason for that is I've seen the people in this room really reach out and support each other when the time is necessary. Now, I've been told this is kind of a method of trolling. And I look at it going, how can helping somebody else be given such a derogatory interpretation? But it is the way the world works, it seems. Now, when I'm looking at ghosts, yes, ghosts can absolutely pass through walls. And for those of you that really desire to fear them, they can show up in places you're not expecting. However, the thing you got to remember is, on the whole, they have no functional interest for it. Many of the ghosts I've run into, yes, they come back across trying to let people know that they're actually okay. Now, why, you ask, is that the case? Well, it's because we are taught right from the time we're tiny little kids. Okay, go down there. How we doing? Glad you could join us. we're trying the answer to your question there, football. Off-worlders, ancient races, humans, all of them are taught the same, essentially silly thing, except the ghosts. And that's that you're supposed to fear them. But that goes hand in hand with being taught that we're supposed to fear death. Now, I can tell you from firsthand experience, death is not that big of a deal. The transition can be absolutely annoying. Okay? It really can be. But do they, where are we here? Yeah. Is it an issue that the off-worlders fear death? Some of them more so than humans. Okay, but or more to the point, they fear ghosts. What are we? Yeah, Joe's going. I wasn't talking about ghosts. About ghosts, this and that. They started appearing to me by all the negative energy around me, but I don't fear them. This is from Joe. Um, and ghosts on the whole will not do anything. It's funny because I watch them interact in the graveyard, or for that matter, coming through my own house. And what I find is, yes, some are really striving to be heard, so they can reach out and say, "Hey, I know you were afraid of my dying, but I'm still here. You just can't see me." Okay, they've done movies to this effect. And we have Shadow in the house here. And of course, as per usual, this is the link to Shadow's live stream. So absolutely, when you get an option, drop in, give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, do come out and if you like what he has to say, come out, give him a thumbs up, and if you like the channel, subscribe to it and share the daylights out of it. Christine, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Christine is just asking, do you ever see ghosts in the form of an orb or inside of one? Quite honestly, I have. Okay. Of course, you got to remember, the Vrosic, that's what they look like. The Vrosic look like an orb in the first place. Well, they are one. And when they pass on, that's the body they remember. Most ghosts keep the appearance of the last body they remember, usually in the state they were happiest. Okay, failing that, in the shape they were in when they passed. So you can get some pretty interesting setups. But yes, I have seen ghosts both in the shape of an orb and occupying an orb. LA, how you doing? Glad you could join us. The reality of it is the variety of ghost appearance, whether it's a ghost or an apparition, and people have other names for them. Not the least of which is Banshee. And I'm not talking about the X-Men person. Okay. But there are a lot of different names. Some people call ghost spirits, which essentially is what they are. That, at least from a Terran standpoint. Because we've got people, and I have got to do something about that. We've got people that take on a very different outlook. In case you're wondering, my temperature is running way too high. So, bring the fan a little closer to see if that helps. Neat little part about it is my window is actually open. Yeah, very definitely, Gordana. The neat thing about it, Gordana is just saying, when you meet them, you feel high energy around. Sometimes they want your attention. And essentially, it boils down to this: a ghost is a high energy field. Okay, that's how they manifest. So, yes, if you're sensitive to high energy, the odds are you'll feel the ghost quite readily. This is one of the reasons why cats can feel it why cats can sense them right off the bat. They also, by the way, give off quite often a very high electrostatic hum, which is what the dogs pick up on. Okay, and if they get anywhere close to you, you may feel the hair on the back of your arms or on the back of your neck come up on edge. Again, this is because of essentially static electricity. So I mean, we are looking at a lot of things changing. Now, what are we going on here? Let's just refresh that. Yeah, still trying to figure out. And in case you hadn't noticed, the throat's doing its normal thing. But in this case, I think I know what caused it. And no, I'm not cutting the show short today, at least not intending to. But I decided to take a look at ghosts. Now, like I said, where are we? We are on the 15th, which means just a real quick note before I get into it any further. The 16th, as you know, is open. The 17th, we're going to take a look at a real neat thing. Something called What is Evil? Okay, and just exactly how does it fit? Then on the 18th, we're going to look at another race called the Sagina. You'll know them better as vampires. And of course, the 26th, we will be dealing with, where are we here? On the 26th, we're going to talk about how your physical health can affect your sense of well-being. Joe goes, Joe just brings, and come back to that. Chad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Joe is just saying the female spirit made her presence known to me again out back in the woods, like 30 minutes ago. Either that or it was the plans. It was only a few minutes. The neat little, I'm really happy she's starting to make contact. Assuming, of course, it's an enjoyable thing for you. Okay. The reality is ghosts come on for a lot of different reasons. But as long as they're not causing a problem intentionally, you don't have anything to worry about, as it were. Now, where are we? Chad is right there. And this is the link to Chad's archives. Okay, so again, go check him out. The reality is he's got some really neat ideas that he's talked about in the past. Okay. Now, one of the things, what have we got here? Football is just going, if ghosts know you can see them, will they keep bugging you? It's not a question if they know that you can see them. If they know that they're bugging you, there are two possibilities. One, if they know they are bugging you and they know it's causing a problem, they may well back off because usually their intention is not to bother you. Sometimes they will push, but they're trying to get something sorted out. Point in fact, I had a complication with a client one day, and that client had a ghost that was constantly bothering them. But as it turned out, the ghost was trapped, and it had to find a way home. So we figured out how to get there. In a case like that, the ghost won't stop. But do understand, it's very rarely a question. It's very rarely a question of worrying about whether or not they're bothering you. It's usually a question of them going, I just want to be heard. You'll find the same behavior with kids, okay, where they just want to be heard. Sadly, it was pointed out to everybody one day that, a child came on the U.S. News. Child came on and went, the reason for the school shootings is because people aren't listening to the kids. Now, that's a terrible reason in my eyes, but it does make sense. And Chad's going, have you ever recognized the soul in this lifetime that you knew in another? And did they also recognize you? The answer is absolutely, Chad. One of the ghosts that shows up in my house, he lives here. I know that sounds a little weird. You've heard me mention Fenyon before. Now, Fenyon I met way back during the Black Death. I also ran with him in England when I was running around as a thief. Mind you, so was he. And now he's here just keeping me company and watching out over things. I've got a pretty solid feeling, and I'm getting told, yeah, I am. Or more to the point, he is. I'm gearing up this lifetime for a very wealthy next lifetime. This lifetime, I figure I'm going to push the limits as far as I can. Okay, I'll get back to that at another point. But Fenyon, I'm still in touch with. I've been in touch with him. We became, like, when we first met back during the Black Plague, during the Black Death, we were adversaries because both of us were coroners, and it was a very competitive industry. Okay, sometimes people went really sour, and I knew of one corner, not one of the ones I worked around, but I knew of one corner at that point that would actually, in order to drum up business, he'd kill off his own staff. Okay, also known as a murderer, by the way. Fortunately, most ghosts aren't. Because you got to remember something that we're not told. Well, actually, we are told, and people don't quite piece it together. You're told when you're passing away that your life flashes before your eyes as you're passing. This is actually accurate. Problem, what they don't tell you is that when you're passing away, everything you did wrong, everything you did in life, you feel it all at once based on the interaction you have with other people. Which means if you spent your life being an absolute doorknob, beating on people, murdering people, hurting people, and you die, you're going to feel each one of those bullets, knives, punches, car crashes, whatever it was that you did to other people. You're going to feel those all at the same time. Now, this is why some people look like they passed away, almost in paradise, because they spent most of their life in their heart being very genuinely nice to people. So they get the warm hugs, the pat on the back, the kiss on the cheek saying farewell, and for that matter, from the people waiting on the other side, going, hey, welcome across. So they end up passing away very peacefully. So, I mean, well, the sad part there, Christine, in case you haven't figured it out, I don't swear a lot. I do when I get mad. Don't kid yourself. Oh, did I miss something here? That's Chad. And again, this thing shifted gears. Still don't know how to do that. Oh, by the way, guys, interesting problem. And yes, I will be talking to the person that was working through it. But that program that we had installed to do the uploads, it tanked the whole computer system. Remember what I mentioned about computers and we don't get along well? Well, this is why I don't install a whole lot of new programs. Because unfortunately, it doesn't work quite that way. And just do a couple of things that, again, we forgot to do. I've got a good memory. It's just really short, you see. But there we are. Now we're back again. So, I mean, I look at the way ghosts are. And yeah. Where are we here? Oh, yeah. Gordana goes, Ken's grandma ghost was watching hockey with us. They didn't see her. Ken's father's ghost in ghost energy kicks me out of bed to have coffee with me. I can talk with him on yes, no telepathic questions. Absolutely, and that's the nice thing about some ghosts. I know when I was still married, we had a ghost. I have no idea who it was. All I do know is we were canning peaches, and all of a sudden, my wife at the time turned around. She put the paring knife down that she was cutting peaches with. Turned around to grab something, turns back, the knife is gone. She never even blinked. It was hilarious in my eyes. She goes, "Look, if you're going to take the knife, you're doing the peaches." I kid you not, it was a heartbeat later and the knife was back. Okay, hard to believe I realize that. But some ghosts do have a phenomenal sense of humor. Okay, and some will turn around. This is why I say, what you've just pointed out there, Gordana, about the yes no answers. This is why I say when you're talking to somebody, okay, absolutely. Now this person is not a ghost, but she is in the house. This is a real weird setup. Okay. But this is one of the few um, life size pictures you'll ever see. But that's a favorite. This is Mira. Okay. And my apologies about the glare, but that's the way it is. Now, yes, it is hand painted. But I will tell you, that's what she looks like. She's in the house. It was neat. My son the other day spotted her and Prito, who are both Feyre that live in my house. Okay, or more to the point, they come in here. Whether they actually live here is a debate. Joe's just saying, I wish I could see her. I smell her. I know her for an absolute fact. Is a special female spirit sent to me. Derek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. And Joe, one neat little trick for you. The next time you sense her, don't ask for her to show herself, but thank her for revealing herself to you in a way that you can both accept and understand. Okay. Let her know that you can smell her. Let her know the senses you can pick up. It will help her focus her energy and come into a more visual range for you. Okay. I really do. As a matter of fact, you can do this even if you're not sensing her at the time. And Derek is going, my daughter is 4 today. My daughter is 4. My son is 4. Irish twins. Son turns in 2 months. I'm not sure I understand the definition of an Irish twin, unless you happen to be Irish and a twin. And Derek's going, I'm betting that's supposed to be caramel ice cream cake for dessert. Unless Carvel is another type of ice cream that I'm not aware of, which rest assured is not surprising. Oh, nice. Yeah, my 2 eldest brothers, one was born in May, and they were born 13 months apart, roughly. One was born in April, the other the following May. So I mean, when we're looking at ghosts, yes, ghosts actually arrange to come in. And by the way, twins do exactly the same point. Okay. In other words, twins will get together and go, okay, we're coming in as twins. So let's find a compatible family to actually come through as twins with. And it is literally orchestrated. So, do you choose your life? Yes, you do. But you don't choose your life based on human thinking. Okay, humans don't essentially pick their life. They play it out as they go along. Frost Kitten, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I trust your day has been going well. Like I'm really happy with the way things are going right now. Just a quick point. The first edition of the newsletter, Positive Perspectives, it came out in July. It had only 6 pages to it. The one that will be coming out on Monday, which is the August edition, has right now it's got 10. I might end up with it having 12 pages. Needless to say, we've added content. Okay. I'm still going with the same idea though. Number one, the only bad news is if you really want to find bad news, you'll have to go and look for it elsewhere. I'm not interested in it. Okay, it's funny. I was talking to someone, got a message from somebody today warning me that we still have to keep our social distance. And absolutely, this is something to be, to pay attention to. But I refuse to live in the fear of the past anymore. I've been fighting with it for a long time. And one of the biggest things I found, I had a discussion the other day, intriguingly enough, with Fenyon. I'm sitting there and he says, "What are you so wound up about?" And I said, "I'm still having trouble figuring out how to fit into this world." And Fenyon pipes up and goes, "Keith, you never fit in any lifetime you've ever had. Why would this one be any different?" So I just looked at him and I went, you've got a point. And I'll tell you, the moment I stopped trying to figure out how to fit into this world and just went, this is my world the way it's going to be, and people will either adapt to it or they won't. But I cannot hold myself, or more to the point, I will not hold myself that responsible for that anymore. I will open as many doors for you guys as I can. Okay, whether it's through information, and I know some people have told me, like I literally got told the other day that I was actually responsible for spreading a staggering amount of misinformation. And here's why I found out it was classified misinformation. Because I refused to look at the world and go, the way it's being painted is the way it has to be. Okay. Now, I will tell you, growing up, this shirt was gray. I understand now it's either burgundy or wine colored, but I will tell you, growing up, this shirt was gray. But then you got to remember, I was colorblind growing up. Ghosts as well. Don't see a whole lot of color because you got to remember, color is something that is seen through the physical optic nerve, not through the soul. Okay, it's a translation based on the physical form you're actually in. But ghosts on the whole, they really don't have a whole lot of negative outlook to you. They're not there to kill you for the most part. There are some that are just annoying. Well, thank you very much, football. I've always left color coordination to somebody else to figure out. Of course, growing up colorblind, you figure out why. Oh, I don't know if it's Canadian color. I'll take your word for it. It's like I tell people, and I got nothing against the color personally, but it's like I tell people, you want me in a different color outfit, and this applies to the people close to me. Okay, you desire me to be in a different color, pick a different color. Okay, let me know, except one thing. Okay, and I don't have a problem with people wearing it. That, I'm not wearing that color, also known as pink. So I mean, from my standpoint, it really boils down to a simple issue. When you're dealing with ghosts, I remember this one ghost. I was dealing with a lady. All I was doing was looking at her finances. And I see this guy, real heavy set chap. Okay, very really short hair. Well, he was starting to go bald. That came out really well. Okay, and it was originally black hair, but it was just real short hair, but swept back. Really, really heavy set chap, and he was wearing a brilliant, striking orange blazer. Okay, and I couldn't hear what he was saying, right? But I could sure tell. I'm talking about finances to this woman. She was going to find out how things were going, right, and how to get them turned around. Which, yes, I deal with that. And what ended up happening is this ghost shows up, and he's standing behind her, And all you see him doing is pounding. He'd come up and he'd go bang on his knee, come back up, he'd point right at her and go, gotcha. Like that. And you could tell by the way his lips were moving. It's just bang on his knee, gotcha. And he'd keep doing this. I finally got fed up with it. And I says, look, I hate to do this last, but, and yes, I used her real name. So I hate to do this to you, but who is this heavyset chap that he's pounding his knee, and he keeps pointing at you and going, gotcha. Well, she sat for a minute and she goes, I don't know. And then all of a sudden her eyes popped up and she goes, and I forget his name, but we'll call him Roy for lack of a better name. She goes, oh my gosh, that's my Uncle Roy. But he just died 2 weeks ago. I said, okay. I says, is this normal behavior for him? She goes, yeah, he was a practical joker. He did this all the time. Right? And then she says, but he swore. He said, if there is a way to make contact once I'm over there, I will get back and make sure you know I got there. Well, as soon as we identified him, he was gone. And I just looked at her and I said, I think he just proved to you that there is life after death. Oh, sad to say, Emmy, I've been hearing more and more of that. And, technically, is it possible? The answer is yes. I got told by somebody the other day I was completely full of it when I said reptilians are shapeshifters. And all I actually said was I've never run into a race of reptilians that are. Okay, let's face it, the universe has infinite possibilities. The fact of the matter is, any way I want to look at it, there's a lot of different races on this planet already. Yeah, and I've heard both sides of it, and what I've come to the conclusion of is this is one of those things I don't worry about. I do know that worrying about a reptilian showing up on the plane as a reptilian is going to cause absolute unmitigated panic. I don't have a problem with a reptilian shapeshifter, but you got to remember something. If there are, in truth, reptilian shapeshifters on this planet, number one, I've never run into them. Doesn't mean they don't exist, because let's remember, lack of proof of existence is not proof of non-existence. Frostkitten goes, I think my dad saw one as a teenager. I know in my case, I've got friends that are, as a matter of fact, this. Where is it? And I've shown some of you guys this before. Okay. But this is what I get for being an author as well. If you take a look at this picture, okay, here is a standard human in the middle carrying the sword. That's actually Jeremiah. But this chap here carrying this mace, okay, this guy here, that is a Thrasazian. Okay, 7.5, 8.5 foot reptilian. Now, can you picture somebody this size walking down your street? Okay, and yes, this particular individual, he is actually included directly in the story. Some of the people, and in his case, I did get permission. Yes, I know that sounds completely full of it. And this is the nice part about it. I didn't come on the air to prove to people whether or not I was right. Yeah, Derek goes, too many people have had experience with reptilians. They are here and real. I would agree with you personally there, Emmy. I'm actually now pulling a complete blank here. Oh. Yeah, Derek, you've been up in Edmonton before. Okay. I do know there is a whole setup, a whole community of Strazazian up there. Okay, what I don't know is whether you've ever seen them. Frost Kitten goes, yeah, Frost Kitten, yeah, is going. He was walking home about her father. He was walking home in the country and saw it in the woodline following him, and that would make total sense. Reptilians aren't exactly known for walking into high-tech areas, and rest assured, Earth has, according to nature, has high tech. According to where the off-worlders come from, they simply know that humans panic really, really easy. Well, this is one thing I keep looking at when people ask me, Derek's going, there's so many people that have seen them, and so many people that have acknowledged them, described them in various ways. So they're either real or millions of people that don't know each other are collaborating behind the scenes to make this a going concern. Now, this is the same issue around ghosts. I've heard people say ghosts aren't real. I'll tell you, it's funny when you tell somebody a ghost isn't real, and then you're there when they see the first one. You get to sit there and sometimes quietly, you get to sit there going, but what are you panicking about? You said they weren't real. Ghosts themselves are very real, but they are not on the whole a problem. As a matter of fact, you go back a number of years, and I'd have to look up the actual year, but William Shakespeare himself made this brilliant comment on stage one day, where he goes, "If the dead were to stand up and walk, we would have one heck of a population problem right now." Okay, because rest assured, the nice thing with ghosts is 2 and 3 of them can occupy literally the same space at the same time. They just vibrate to a different degree, and therefore can mesh between each other without interrupting each other's actual flow. Now, of course, the really neat question that doesn't get asked very often, and I'm not sure how I'd go about doing it, is this idea of asking what percentage of people actually believe in ghosts. Now, I am curious if somebody's done the research, because I certainly have not. Let's see. That's over there. That's over there. Take a look at that, and good. Didn't start my movie back up, because that would be a problem. I'm just checking something on the net here, quite literally. And we go, what percentage of humans believe in ghosts? I used to not be able to find a thing on the internet. Recently, I've been getting not bad at it. How long that works, I don't know. But there we go. April 30th. What I typed in. Okay. What percent? According to Google here, the first thing here goes, what percentage of Americans believe in ghosts? And they say 43% believe. Okay, 18% of adult Americans claim they've seen or been near a ghost. What percentage of, that just covers Americans, which is fine. It gives us a ballpark. Because I'll tell you, much as people like to think otherwise, every nationality I know of is split almost in the same percentages. Okay, so it does give us a ballpark to work with. And just because I'm curious. And we get in here. Oh, I thought it was much higher than that. Apparently, in the United States, apparently only, and I'm reading straight off of Google, I haven't done the research myself. According to this, it says that only 17% of Americans believe aliens are real. Okay, which is really remarkable when you think about it. But from now, maybe I'm running in the wrong circles because I find a staggering number of people do. You know, one thing I do know is I get accused of a lot of things. The one thing I haven't been accused of is being subtle. Dense, absolutely. But where it comes to ghosts, now I will tell you, when I first discovered I could see them, I was already I was already in the hospital. Well, in all fairness, it was my first day on Earth, and I could see them while I was laying there in the incubator, and decided I'd had enough of the world. So I've been able to see them my entire life. I just didn't know until much later that other people couldn't. If you think about it, have you ever walked through a mall and you watch somebody and you see somebody walking like this? Okay, they're just weaving, but there's no extra people in the mall. What you may be bearing witness to is somebody that's seeing a lot of ghosts and they're trying to work through a crowd. But ghosts themselves have a wide array of personalities, just like humans do. Now, the neat part about it, and I know this works, although there's no way I can prove it. Okay, if you know when somebody dies, if you know their time of death, you also know their time of birth on the other side, at which point you can now use astrology to figure out what that ghost is up to. Of course, trying to track the ghost later might be a little bit of an issue. And do I have ghost clients? Yeah. I've also got clients that have ghosted me, which, by the way, is not the same thing as being a ghost. Fortunately, I haven't got a lot of clients that passed away, although I had a lot that I had that wished their other half would. But you got to remember, ghosts are not organized. They do not gather in clusters in order to orchestrate some sort of a protest or some sort of an anti-corporeal race, anti-corporeal forum. Ghosts on the whole, they get over there, wherever they came from, they shed all of the prejudice behind them. They leave it all behind. Okay, that doesn't mean they forget what it was, but they do understand it's no longer a requirement. So what they sometimes do, and I actually met somebody when they were alive, they were a member of the KKK. Not a nice group of people in a lot of people's lives. This guy was a member of the KKK. He passed away as a member of the KKK and decided to come back as a black poor person in an area where the KKK, in his case, right where the KKK was a problem. But he came back in a body that was disconnected from any of the people he knew, which when you think about it, if he was a member of the KKK, he didn't socialize with black people. Now, personally, I don't care what color you are. Okay, when I was growing up, I saw three colors of people. You had gray, which was virtually everybody. You had the whites. These were what you guys know as albinos. Okay, and you had the blacks. And there's only one race of black people. I call them Numenorian. I don't know if that's what their nationality is now. That's the color I knew it from. And it's absolutely midnight black. They've almost got a shine to their skin. Okay, but rest assured, they're still human. They're still perfectly valuable, just as important as everybody else. Okay, when you look at ghosts, like when you're dealing with people, be absolutely certain you treat them exactly the same way you desire to be treated. Okay, I mean, this is just one of those things we really have to get through our heads. If you continue focusing on the negative, what we are going to do is propagate a very negative world. Okay, now, is that, yeah, I'm doing that the wrong way. Talk about doing things the hard way. Yes, I am keeping water close by. Like I said, yeah, my throat was a little stiff. You should have tried this morning. Woke up and I literally, my throat was so dry. Well, how dry was it? It was so dry, I literally couldn't get a noise out of my vocal cords. Right. That was a pain in the neck, but quite literally, pardon the pun. Oh, this is cute. I'm looking here. Chart, more, yeah. In 2022, where are we here? Growing share, yeah, I'm just looking at this alien thing. Now, what is this? I don't like that. Yeah, I read that one that said about 70% of people do believe in the UFOs. Just scanning down a little here. It now apparently is up to about 65. Yeah, football goes, when I'm dehydrated, I get leg cramps. You know, that I never even thought about because I was talking to people this morning, not medical people, but I woke up both, and like I said, I woke up with a massive case of popcorn hangover, and both my calves were locked solid. Never even thought about that side of it being linked to dehydration. Right. But I've been going through a lot of water today and I don't have that problem right now. Can't imagine why. But when we take a look at the way ghosts are, we gotta understand first and foremost, fearing them is kind of pointless. Okay, very few ghosts have actually developed enough energy level to come across the border, come across the veil and really show people, really make physical contact. Like the movie Ghost, okay, years ago. And I think it was starring Kevin Bacon, but I may be mistaken on that. Okay, they did a beautiful rendition of the way ghosts have to deal with things when they get over the other side. Okay, they did a beautiful rendition of it. Same as the other movie, Sometimes They Come Back. Another really neat movie. Fortunately, they don't always, very few of them come back hunting. You know, but we got to remember a ghost is still its own entity. It's still its own person. Thank you so much, LA. This is why I tell people I think this is what it is. I'm absolutely certain. Apparently, it turns out it was Patrick Swayze that played in Ghost. Now I know Kevin Bacon played in Tremors, and those little critters, not Kevin Bacon, but the undergrounders. Okay, those little things are real, not on this world, thankfully. Because can you picture the mess we have on this world if those little underground critters from Tremors showed up here? I really have to keep my hand back from the desk. But when we're dealing with ghosts, I've been in a, like as I mentioned, I've been in a morgue. Now, very few people actually leave their body in the morgue. Most of them are long since dead by then. But I'll tell you, if you end up in the hospital and you can see ghosts, you won't require a TV to watch the entertainment. Okay? Because you'll see the ghosts wandering around. I saw one, you know, they got up, they were on the verge of dying. They got up and went for a walk. When they came back, their body had been moved. And I literally had to explain to them, look, hate to tell you this, but you actually died. Your body quit. It's been taken down to the morgue, right? And then they go off on a hunt looking for the morgue. And rest assured, that's way down at the bottom of everything, out of the way of everything. It's not like you want a bunch of dead bodies being laid out in the lobby. This is not good for people's attitude. You know, but the thing, like when I was actually a coroner during the Black Death, okay, I mean it was phenomenal. Business was booming. People were dying to get through my door. The unfortunate part is most of them died before they got to my front door. And it's not like I could turn around and say, hey, get up and move in. But honestly, I did that on occasion just for giggles. Thing you got to remember, when you're following, if you're ever doing this neat little thing like hunting ghosts, just remember they will run places where you can't. Okay? They'll go running towards the end of a cliff if they know you're following them and they're a little twisted. They'll go running towards the cliff and carry straight across. They won't bother with the cliff. And it's just that much more complicated for you if you don't notice it. Way back. I haven't heard one recently there, Emmy. But I did hear about like I do know cryogenics has been around since the 60s. Okay. And do they do it to people? Yes. Okay, they've used it for quite a while. No, our voices, Bigfoot doesn't bother with the UFOs. But the other answer to that question is yes. The Greys have been known to pick up the Bigfoot in order to do it and do the hybridization work. And again, we got to remember, and there's a lot of controversy around this. People have told me all sorts of things, and Dave from Spaced Out Radio is a prime example. He and I have simply agreed to disagree. Okay, but then what you know as Bigfoot or Sasquatch, in my opinion, is number one in ancient race, more specifically Gigantopithecus. Okay. But do they panic? No. They do know the Greys are here and many other races. But their concern is the planet itself. And I'm referring to Sasquatch's planet concern. They are very much the naturopath at heart. Really right from the get-go. But do they panic about it? No. Yeah, the EMT who was transporting him saw his spirit. This is going back regarding the cryogenically frozen chow. The EMT who was transporting him saw his spirit, realized he wasn't coming back. And yeah, if you recognize the spirit leaving, more often than not, once they leave, they don't come back. Some of us, myself included, I was brought back kicking and screaming. I'm like, I am not going back to that mud ball. No, had enough. But you signed a contract. I didn't sign up for that abuse. I ended up back here in case you hadn't noticed. From my standpoint, I simply found out this was the way things were going to go. This is why I've started pushing the issue. And again, the newsletter that I've got out is only available to people by request. Okay. As of Monday, you'll still be able to get July's because I'm going to keep them in. I'm going to keep the file for them anyway. But August will be out on Monday. Okay. And again, if I don't get asked directly, it doesn't matter to me if it's physical or I was going to say physical or spiritual, physical or email, it's still going out for free. Now, Frost Kitten goes, the spirit of the guy supposed to be in Frozen realized it didn't work and work how he thought and wasn't reconnecting with his body in the future. And that is a lot of the case. You know, the reality of it is when you freeze a body, okay, first and foremost, you got to remember, and this is where the guy made the mistake. If the soul leaves the body is stuck where it is. When it's cryogenically frozen, it doesn't adjust. But if the spirit leaves the body, the spirit continues to grow and will no longer be compatible with the physical body that it left. Okay, this is another one of those safety precautions when designing the physical body. Okay, in my case, they didn't give me enough time to stay out. This is why when you're astral traveling, you keep an umbilical cord because it keeps you updating the software so you can get back into the body. Okay, and there are some people, what'll happen is they'll get into a massive mess. Okay, they end up in a massive problem. Their body's so scrambled that they know they're not going to make a full recovery, and they at that point go, I'm not living any longer. And they pull the plug themselves by simply letting go of the body. This is why so many people pass away. You know, they'll drop into a coma and then they'll pass away. Because the soul, the driver of the body, goes, I'm not putting my family through this. And they just shut it down. Net result, they died in their sleep. Okay, which in all fairness is a good way to go. You know, but what we have to remember is yes, when you've got somebody in a coma in the hospital, 9 times out of 10, they're sitting in the room, okay, watching how you're all behaving. So I do strongly encourage you, if you're in a room with somebody you think is dying, remember they can and do hear what's going on. They hear what's going on in the operating room. They hear what's going on in the recovery room. Ghosts do stick around usually when their body's in trouble. Okay, and you would be amazed how many people are in the operating wing of a hospital when people are fighting for their lives. You know, this is just one of those little understood points. But of course, most of the people that report on this sort of thing don't have a comprehensive standing on it. In my case, been there, done that. This is why I don't question it. But am I going to sit here and try and prove what I've seen? Not a prayer. I will tell you that where it comes to dealing with the spiritual world, if I'm telling you this is the way that I see it's working, you can bet your bottom dollar where it applies to me, I'm using it. Temperature is definitely a little on the high side. I wonder. I did bring it. Let's just make sure that I don't have a major problem. Like I said, I keep a very close tab on this because I'll tell you the last thing I need to do. I don't mind heart attacks. I mean, they're painful, but they're annoying. But I certainly don't worry about them. But we do call this live feed for a reason. You know, but my temperature, I've got the fan running behind me to avoid certain complications. But, you know, I keep a very close tab on this because if I run into troubles, I want to make absolutely certain I'm not going to have major problems. Now, this is the wrong way to do this. I'm usually laying down when I double check this. Right. But I do it. I work with what I've got. Remember that thing about I'm not exactly known for being subtle? Well, it's the same with my own system. Well, that shouldn't kill me. I'll know in a minute. I know it was on Nathan's show a while ago on the Quantum Show. and ended up with a massive blood pressure spike that took me off the air. This one ain't going to be there. See, it's a little high right now, but I'm sitting at 140 over 86 with a pulse of 100, and I'm sitting still. So, will I bring it down later? Certainly. It's a little higher than what I'd like, but nothing to worry about. I know the doctors would tell me, oh, you got to get on medication. And I'm looking at them going like, not going to happen. You know, I feel great from that standpoint. But I just did that, quite frankly, because I'm sitting here going, my temperature is way too high. Which, in all fairness, it is. But I've got the window open. Now, I've got the window open. I got the fan behind me here. Yeah, we're still sitting, where are we here? Still sitting in 34, which is 68, 90. Oh. Yeah, so 34 degrees. We're sitting at 100 degrees right now. But the ghosts themselves, when they pass away, they take their personality with them. It stays with them for a little while. But I will tell you, the moment, doesn't matter what the ghost personality is, when they come back in, okay, Frost Kitten, I gotta ask, whereabouts you're sitting? You know, I'm just curious, really. But no, the reality of it is, when I look at ghosts, when a ghost passes away, if they're a violent individual here, when they first get across, they are going to be violent. That will temper out over the first, over the first few years they're over there, or first few days, really, first few years from our standpoint. Ah, there we go. Frost Kitten's down in Pennsylvania. So yeah, it's is it an issue of the personality goes across? Absolutely. And some of the more violent individuals hang around. They hang around in the area they passed away, quite often because they're just ticked that their life was cut short. More often than not, I don't know what happened. I was funny. I had one guy that I had to deal with, and he was threatening a client. The client contacted me because this chap had made it very clear that he wanted her dead. Right. So we got a hold of, and she calls me up. We identified who this was, knew for an absolute certainty this was the guy she was seeing. And then he pipes up and he goes, I'd ask him a question, he'd give me a sideways answer. Much like some corporeal UFO investigators I know of. Nathan, how are we doing? Glad you could join us. Well, I do appreciate that, Nathan. I just mentioned before you got here about that wonderful little blood pressure spike I had the other day when I was on your show a few weeks back. But no, this chap, we had identified and made contact. That was fine. And he finally pipes up. He looks me dead in the eye and he goes, "I've seen you in hell." I looked at him and I said, "So let me get this straight. You know hell won't hold me, and yet you're still trying to tick me off." I says, "Tell me, was this the kind of stupidity that got you killed in the first place?" Well, the long and the short of it was, we did find out who had actually created his problem and sent him to play with them and leave on the condition that he left my client alone. Because she was totally innocent. She just happened to be in the house that he had been murdered in. So we sent him off to find the guy that actually opened the door and pulled him back. Turned out the guy that pulled him back was actually in prison. So like I told the spirit, I said, "Hey, look, you got a captive audience. Go and torment him for as long as you choose. Don't matter to me. Just leave my client alone." So I mean, this is just when you're dealing with ghosts, you just gotta remember that and by the way, gotta do that. You gotta remember when dealing with ghosts, they are just another form of life. Basically, they're a body, they're a spirit without a body. And Nathan, where are we? Here we are. Oh yes, and Nathan. Of course, this is the important factor, guys. Here is his. Here's Nathan's link. And remember, he's going on the air tomorrow at 9 p.m. Central, also known as 7 p.m. Pacific. So drop in. If you like his show, give him a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it. You know, the nice part, yeah, I'm just looking at this, and Frost Kitten goes, captive audience. And he was. I mean, you know, you got to remember, if you're going to do something to get put in jail, and you're going to take off the ghosts, you're going to have all kinds of fun in jail that isn't necessarily fun from your standpoint. Because, see, here's the other thing you got to remember where it comes to ghosts. You don't have to believe in them. They have to believe in you. You know, I was dealing with a waitress one day that told me flat out she only believed in what she could see. And I just looked at her and says, I'll call you on that one. She goes, what do you mean? I says, well, you believe in God, don't you? She goes, well, yeah. I said, so when was the last time you saw the guy? Tell you she was mad. She wouldn't come anywhere near my table after that. But again, I'm not exactly known for being subtle. And oops, I forgot to hit enter. There's the link to Nathan's show. My apologies there. But, you know, is it possible to see, ghosts? Absolutely. It's much more difficult to unsee them once you have. You know, it's funny. I'm just asking for and I really don't care about the color of my hair. But I got told by somebody just the other day that my hair was starting to go black, and they pointed to this area right in here. For those that have looked and that have seen me for a while, just a curiosity thing, but is this hair starting to come in black again? It's just a curiosity thing on my part. From my standpoint, I start going gray at 16. Why worry about it? It's a color. And let's face it, when you grow up colorblind, they really don't mean as much. I appreciate that there, Frost. You know, the funny part about it is apparently that's not supposed to happen. I don't know. I was told I was supposed to go blind as I got older. My eyesight's getting stronger. You know, I'm getting stronger physically, mentally. I found a guy gave me some insight into how to actually repair the brain damage. And I do mean the weak cells that have ended up developing due to, you know, let's face it, high fever. But you got to remember, we are taught to fear death. This is a prime reason why so many fear dying, or they fear ghosts. You know, the fact of the matter is, from my standpoint, I don't fear death. I've done it often enough. It's really kind of a redundant thing for me. Although it is fun to watch other people's reaction. If you're on the other side. On this side, I find it emotionally almost draining and certainly overwhelming being around people that are in pain because somebody's dying. And yes, I surprised myself when I had emotional disarray when my family members have died. I didn't honestly think I was that connected to them. You know, but ghosts themselves are a wonderful group of people. You know, the funny part about it is once you can actually start seeing seeing the deceased. The neat part about it is that you can't unsee them, which means all of a sudden you'll start seeing more and more of them. And then you start to figure out how to actually hear what they're talking about, which can be really neat if they haven't connected with the idea of soul speech and are still striving to communicate in their original language. These are just some of the things ghosts themselves, they take with them for the first couple of years, our time. They take their personality with them. That is part of the reason why the average turnaround is 70 years to go from human body to human body. In my case, I usually do it in 7. Okay, as in last lifetime I died in Chicago Memorial in 1956. I was born in 1963 in Richmond, BC, just outside of Vancouver. Okay, and needless to say, different country. So I look at it this way. When you're dealing with ghosts, understand they're very real. They have very real personalities. And when you're playing, and this is a real dangerous topic to get into, but when you're playing around on the Ouija board, okay, remember, there is no shortage of people that want to make contact. So it's very important that you understand how to do so first. And you don't just randomly go, oh, let's make contact with something from the other side. Because I will tell you, not everybody over there is polite. And not everybody over there is a decent person. Matter of fact, not everybody over there ever was a person. It's a good thing I made sure I had water today. Because the temperature in here is just something bizarre. Yeah, I wonder how long it's going to take for the temperature to actually come down to a functional level. Frost Kitten goes, are physical barriers a hindrance to ghosts? No, they really aren't. You gotta remember, a ghost vibrates at a much higher capacity, so they can actually slip between the molecules in the physical world. Net result, they'll appear to come through walls. They actually don't even notice the walls to speak of. Ironically, I voices, much as I have my own, I built my own, I designed my own Ouija board. I don't think I've actually got an active one here. But I did design a Ouija board that I haven't put into market. Okay, as a matter of fact, this is what I mean by if I'm going to tell you I'm doing something or I've done it. Okay, it's because I usually have. Now, I don't think you can see much of that. Okay, but that is a Ouija board that I've designed. Okay, have I put it? I haven't burned it onto the. I haven't burned it onto wood yet, and eventually I will. But for the moment, not here. I'll put that back over here where it belongs. Yeah, in case you hadn't noticed, I've got some weird hobbies I deal with. Vlad, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Now, first rule of thumb, Vlad, to be clear, I don't know about all ghosts. Okay, nobody in existence I'm aware of knows about all ghosts. There is one person that actually knows how to track them all. He just doesn't worry about it. Okay, but I don't know about all ghosts. But like all corporeal humans, you take the group on the whole, and the majority of them will behave in the same fashion. Okay. Yeah, Gordana goes hand towel, foot by foot, wet, wet. Put on your back and bottom of the neck. It will cut. It'll cut the heat and body tan. And yeah, and that one I know about. And that's what I'll end up doing after work. After work, after the stream. You know, the one thing I cannot do is I cannot. Well, I could do it. Is I can't use cold water because I will tell you, cold water will kill me. It's great. You hit me with a stream of cold water, my heart stops. It's just great. Fabulous stopper. No, Vlad, the reality is I don't know about all ghosts. I know about a staggering number of them. I've been dealing with them for 60 years. Okay, and I've got over 100,000 clients under my belt, where probably 30% of them had to deal with ghosts, which means, do I have a personal database to make my assessment from? Certainly. But are there variations? Are there some ghosts that are, shall we say, way outside the bell curve? Absolutely. I mean, if you think about it, Vlad, I'm way outside the bell curve. Okay, most people, when they die, and that's the end of that. In my case, I was clinically dead 4 times before I hit 10 years of age. Now, this is, to say the least, a bit of a hiccup. Yeah, Gordon, you are right. Gordon is just going, some can change nature in the nature and environment just to show you something. They absolutely can. I will tell you, though, more often than not, when they do that, they're showing you an overlay. Something about the fact that to change Earth itself, you're actually having to modify Itzar herself, as in the Kaboran upon which we live. Okay, and no, every planet is not a Kaboran. Okay, but the one we're on is. Okay, so we are dealing with, there are some that can affect the physical environment. You take a look at the movie Poltergeist. Okay, that was one of those entities that had the capacity to affect the material world. But what you may not know is it was using the TV as a psychomantium, a physical gateway by which to draw somebody into the astral plane. Okay, these things exist. Do I know how to work with them? Certainly. Have I got one in my room? No, I refuse to put one in my house. Number one, I don't own the place, so I'm not about to paint the walls the right color. But some ghosts can affect the environment, but more often than not, aside from adjusting wind flow, when it comes to seeing different images, usually they do a mental overlay, simply because it's less invasive on the planet itself. And again, the issue there is they're usually striving to show you something to your benefit, not show you something to hurt somebody. This is just the reality of their natures. Now, there are some that will absolutely create a problem. Okay, one thing we have to remember, asking to bear witness to a ghost or going, I'd really like to see a ghost. That's easy. Go down to whatever grave and graveyard you're close to. Okay, and sit quietly and respectfully and just watch. In your mind, you can certainly run through the thanks. You can certainly run through the idea. Thank you for revealing yourself in a way that I can both accept and understand. Okay. The reason for phrasing it that way is if you tell them you just want to have a ghostly experience, one of these jokers will come up and scare the living daylights out of you. Okay. I mean, Robert Service wrote a poem about Sam McGee, where, the ghost when the guy got tossed into the fire. I'm not reading it to you. I've got it somewhere around here. Don't actually see that particular book. Nope, I don't. But He wrote a beautiful poem about it. I am working on a couple of poems because, like I said, I am putting a poetic anthology together that will be available to the public, and it's certainly going to be available for you guys or for anybody to add a poem to the book. I know how many it's going to have. What do we got? Yeah, Gordana goes, they want me to talk with their families, people I do not know. I came to the point not to sleep and asked them to leave me. And that makes total sense. Some ghosts, especially because what you gotta remember, Gordana, okay, what you gotta remember with ghosts, and this applies to everything in the metaphysical world. If you're not awake, if you don't naturally sense it, it's like sitting in the dark. And there are not that many people that are wide awake. And if you're already able to sense ghosts and communicate with them, it's kind of like sitting in a dark, dark, dark auditorium for a long period and nobody can see anything. And then somebody sitting there pulls out a big lighter and goes click, and it just glows like an absolute, like an icon, like a beacon. And it'll draw all the ghosts because they all go, hey, there's one that can get in, that can hear us. We gotta talk to this person, pass it on. Okay. Now, I made it clear myself. I don't deal with ghosts unless the person that's having the problem comes to me. Okay. I myself don't do that. It's like people saying, well, why don't you just go live and talk to the ghosts for people? And I'll tell you, the reason I don't do that is because it's an invasion of a lot of people's privacy. I never did agree. There was a show on years ago where there was a guy that came on and he had a whole audience, a room full of audience members that he would pick and choose who was coming through. And, I never did agree with that show because it's like walking up to somebody and going, and it has happened to me before, okay, where I've actually made that mistake. Well, shouldn't call it a mistake. I was on the money. I was actually working for an amusement crew, for West Coast Amusements, and I'd gone on as an active psychic. Now, one of the girls I was working with that was another one of the workers there, she found out I claimed to be an active psychic, and she didn't like them. And the last one was an absolute fraud. So we didn't get along great the first 2 or 3 sites we went to. We didn't fight, but it was kept very disconnected until about the third or the fourth site. And she comes up to me. Now, bear in mind, when I wasn't working, I'd walk around and just see what else was going on. But this woman comes up to me and she goes, why did you tell my daughter that her father was on the grounds looking for her? And I looked at the woman and I says, well, first of all, first and foremost, I says, I only told one person that, so I'm guessing that was your daughter. As to why I told her, I said, the reason for that is because he is. Right. I said, but why are you so agitated? She goes, because her father walked out on her when she was still in arms and has not been seen in 15 years. I said, oh, I'm sorry. So, I do feel for her, but why the agitation? She goes, because her father is on the site looking for her. I said, oh, well, that's great. And then the woman stops and looks at me and goes, you're not a fraud, are you? I said, I never thought I was. From there on, we got along fine. Now, in answer to your question there, Frost, it's been years since I've seen James, on TV. I do suspect very strongly that he has. And now, I have no doubt that he is legit. The showmanship on the show, I do find in question. But then, I haven't seen what they do with it in the last 10 years. So I don't know what their layout is at this point as far as the show goes. as far as he goes, yeah, I do believe he's gifted. Okay, you can see it all the way around his Merkaba, which is this band right here. If you can see energy patterns, you look at this whole area here, and you'll find it's lit up like a Christmas tree. Now, Sylvia Brown, as far as Sylvia Brown goes, the only objection I had with her, quite frankly, I have no doubt she was gifted, but I have a serious problem with the idea of charging people $750 an hour to listen to her. When you think, okay, that I know for an absolute certainty, and this is because I've been in this field since I was 10, professionally since I was 23. But, for somebody to spend $750 an hour to get a reading from her was excessive in my eyes. Did she earn it? She put the price people were willing to pay. Can't fault her for that. Okay, I have been paid as much as $2,500, actually $2,625 an hour. I have legitimately been paid for a reading. Okay, but I've also shared my costs at this point. I have literally cut them back to $80 an hour, or more to the point, $20 every 15 minutes. Because the people that really require the guidance, many of them cannot afford the higher price. So do I agree with the price she was charging? No, it wasn't illegal. It was stated straightforward. This is what it is. This is what people chose to pay. I don't have a problem with it. Okay, for me personally, way too heavy. But have I met gifted mediums? Absolutely. It's always fun watching the new ones as they start to realize what they're looking at. That's just another aspect about it. In all fairness, Frost Kitten, I see you've got James Van Prague's book, Ghosts Among Us. Okay, and this is why I say I certainly won't disavow his ability. I'm a firm believer he's got it. What they did with the show, I don't know. I've got no foundation to work with there. But yeah, absolutely. Whenever you're talking to anybody that has had dealings with the spirit world, quite often, because it's an abnormality, because it's a rarity, if you will, it does become a very interesting setup. And as we know, this pipes up, and yes, I will respond to it. Primarily because, for me, family is first. Fortunately, these things don't actually deal with the deceased that well. And yeah, I sort of have to concentrate when I try and text because, well, frankly, I can't see the keyboard that well. Even if I take my glasses off, and of course, my fingers don't handle those little touch buttons well. I'll be entertaining if the thing decides it's going to phone somebody, though. I had that happen a few weeks back. I'm sitting here, and my phone decided it was going to phone somebody. Well, I'm sitting there, and I'm going like, could you keep your socializing to yourself for a while? But ghosts themselves they're another group of people that, and I look at them kind of along the same lines as, you get Shriners. Shriners on the whole, and I'm not picking on them. I could have said, Christians, we could have been talking about a bike club. But you get a group of people that have a similar interest or a similar situation, and they behave in similar fashions. Not the least of which is people with physical disabilities will relate to each other, to other people with the same physical disability, much more readily than they will to people that don't have it. Now, in my case, are there many people like me? What now? 30. We're now in 23, so 15 years ago, okay, there were only 6 of us on the planet that had the same situation I do. 5 of them were locked up in insane asylums. Me, I was lucky. I knew the right answers, they didn't lock me up. Besides that, didn't exactly want to participate in the bouncy room experiment. From what I gather, the padded rooms are kind of fun to run around in. But I prefer the ones that don't have a locking door on the outside. But when I look at the whole issue of ghosts, is it something you have to worry about? Certainly not. Where are we here? Let's just hit refresh and see what pops. Now, again, guys, if you do like the stream, and this is just that bizarre little idea, if you haven't done so already, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and share the daylights out of it if you would be so kind. That would be nice. I will be working on the idea. I will be working on getting a proper video run so I can actually do more in the way of uploads or straightening out the one I've got. Problem is that my computer, it's my computer. Okay. And as I've said before, technology is a royal pain. Many of you, just to be clear, if you're only seeing a ghost once in a while and not always the same one, what you may have is a transit point where a ghost is coming into your house and just passing through. Thank you so much there, football. Yeah, I was looking at it for a while. I was bouncing between. I got up to 512 and then started collapsing. Matt Geek, how you doing? Glad you could join us. I got up to 512 and it dropped pretty steadily down to 505 and then started to climb again. So, like I said, the number, all that does is give me quantifiable proof of what I'm up to. And I might, once I get the recording program in place, the one I used, I've still got on the computer, but I had to uninstall the thing because it sees the entire system. So from my standpoint, I look at it this way. When I look at the numbers, I look at my dashboard, and it turns out when I look at the numbers, I'm looking at viewers in somewhere around the 4 to 5 times as many to get to it after the fact. Okay. And from my standpoint, if this one message can get handed out, and that is that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. If we do that, then we're sitting in good shape. Okay. This is the time to get excited about changing our world from what it was to what it can be. This is not the time to sit down and say, well, we're heading for war and the world's over. We're all going to die. Although I will agree with the latter part of that. We are all going to die. Some of us more often than others. I gotta see something here. Not there. There. And where are we? Who is that? That's Robert. Now, as I mentioned, I have been keeping tabs on this friend of mine. I have been keeping tabs on this Cole. Okay, that recently had a stroke. So far, he does seem I'm just reading this right now. He's now home. He's out of the hospital. Pretty good turnaround time. But he's at home. He is recovering. Which, again, definitely, I definitely, encourage you to send healing, healing energy to him and frankly to everybody else that requires it. Okay. Because, he is slowly making headway, which is important in my eyes anyway. Whoop. Shouldn't have done that because that completely scrambled things. Where are we? There. Nope, that's wrong. I do close it. It would seem. It would seem I closed it, so I'm going to have to open it up again. Drag that back over there and bring the other one up. Bring up YouTube, and there we are. Good. And there we go. And Derek's just gone. And yes, it's the real thing. Ask yourself, why the off-worlders do this? It's well, I missed that little part. I think I missed part of what you were getting at there, Derek. About what the off-worlders are doing that is sick and disgusting. That part I missed. I didn't catch you going through here. So if you'd be kind enough to bring us up to speed on that, then maybe we can look at it. Something that we also have to remember, especially if we're dealing with some of what people call sick and disgusting. If you're looking at it from the other species perspective, it may just be a normal way of doing things. We could go into some dietary practices that, for me, I personally find them absolutely just wrong. And I wouldn't even consider participating in them. Okay. But, and I've seen documentaries on some of these things from different parts of this world. Never mind what I've seen on other worlds. But the reality of it is, when I'm looking at the issue of ghosts, understand every one of you is very likely to become one at some point. Your physical body will pass away. Your physical body will pack it in, and you'll have to go find a new physical body. In that transitional period, that's when you take on the role of being a ghost. And that's when you deal with that side of it. And yes, by the way, just to throw people for a loop, there is such a thing as ghosts that like to simply look in windows. You may consider it a twisted outlook, but you got to remember, they don't see the walls in the first place. So they're not seeing the walls, they're not seeing your clothes. So if they're looking in the window, they may just be on the same level. And don't forget, ghosts are not relegated to living by gravitational rules, meaning they don't have to stand on the ground on the first floor. They can stand on the 14th floor and look in. That's the neat little part about it. The world of the ghost it's a different world than what you're used to. That's for certain. But it's one of these things that you can work through, or that you can work with, is more to the point. And again, guys, I've seen some wonderful questions coming in. Again, even if I'm not talking on the same topic, okay, absolutely put your question in all caps. If I don't get to it, like when we close this stream down, if you didn't get a chance to ask your question, drop me a line, okay, and I will do my best to give you an answer. And this is the best email address to get a hold of me at. Okay, and again, the same email address is the same one to use if you're looking to pick up the books, which at this point are only actually available through me. I haven't got everything else set up yet, but I am working on it. And we have here, this particular website will give you an actual, well, that was wrong. This website will give you a breakdown of 7 of the 8 books available. That said, I've actually got the sheet prepared to send out with the other one. But working on a number of things. One of the things, will I ever have a ghost, a ghost visiting? No, we can safely say, bringing one online, I don't have the camera array to be able to pick them up anyway. I mean, heck, the fact I've got a camera array that picks me up is a bonus. But we just have to remember that when you're dealing with ghosts, these are not people to fear. These are people that are just simply without a vehicle. Okay, very much like a pedestrian, given they have a driver's license, sometimes doesn't use the car. I honestly don't think I did football. I seem to recall it coming out, but because I don't have TV and I don't go to the movie much, I don't think I saw the last one. But from what I gather, it was rather nicely done. I did, however, finally get around to watching Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, the character I'm running in my current game on Sunday, he is a druid that is able to turn into an owlbear, a little yellow frog, or an albatross, which gives him all the array that he'd like. Hey, Christine, I take it, you must have stepped out for a minute. Welcome back. So I'm in the middle of of really enhancing things a lot. D&D really was. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've actually watched it twice since it came out on Netflix. I did find their take on the dragon was phenomenal. So if you haven't seen it, I do encourage you to watch it, especially if you like that kind of movie to start with. Football. Ghosts do retain their annoying human eccentricities for the first 2 or 3 years. Terran time, meaning about the first 5 to 10 minutes. Well, 5 minutes is usually about average. 4 or 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll make 10. Okay, on their side. But 2 to 3 years after they pass away, they do tend to keep those same human tendencies. Now, much as I agree with that particular topic there, Joe, I got no problem putting setting it up. But let me just write that down. But is it a topic that goes way outside my knowledge base? Absolutely. Okay, because what Joe's suggesting is for the future, suspended accounts on any social media apps. What to do? Now, I will certainly put that on the marks. So far, Joe, to be clear, you have come up with some phenomenally popular topics. So let me see here. Where are we here? Suspended accounts. Just marking it down so I can actually book it in. Because there's a lot, like, I've got an interesting situation myself where it actually turns out I've got 2 YouTube channels. I'd love to figure out how to merge the 2 because I got a lot of other videos and followers on them. I'd love to actually just reconnect it. Okay, so I have marked that down. And therefore, as we know, when I do that, you're absolutely right, Derek. Derek's just going, I've said it once and I've said it before. Everyone has different food diets that are special and beneficial to them. Absolutely. Okay, I have marked that topic down, Joe, so you can bet in the not too distant future we'll get to it. Like I mentioned the other day, I've put a bunch of topics together, and I may just move one of them. I don't know. I'll figure that out as I go along. The thing is, because we're dealing with human diet, virtually, because humans on the whole are built essentially the same way, diet for one person may well have a beneficial effect, the same beneficial effect for another. Now, I do know people have sworn by the idea of cut back on your protein, go heavy on this, heavy on that. I go by the idea of everything in moderation. Everything. Okay. Well, not everything. Because, I mean, they say everything, and I'm telling you, taking poison even in moderation, I mean, legitimate, this is definitively poisonous. Taking this is just stupid. And there is no moderation to it. It was funny. Years ago, I was asked what I thought about birthdays. And I looked at the person, I went, I could possibly care less about them. What I didn't realize was that they were referring to their birthday, not mine. My birthday, I really could care less, I think. Okay, I track it because, well, let's face it, in today's world, kind of necessary to know how old you are. Because I got to worry about whether or not I get ID'd for being old enough, for being an adult. But where it comes to other people's birthdays, like I said, I do work with them. And most of you guys, I don't have your birthdays. The ones I do, that is being put into place. Because one thing I want to make absolutely certain of with regards to my company is to make sure that nobody is treated like a number. Okay. Am I perfect? Not even functionally remotely close. I believe they could call it stubborn or pighead. A lot of words that could be used that way. Opinionated. Absolutely. But will I change my stand on something if I'm given viable reason? Absolutely. The way I figured, I technically had two birthdays. Well, literally in my case. Yeah, and that's the whole thing. And celebrating the anniversary of your birthday, I'm all for it for people. But I do caution you, celebrate it with, with responsibility. Because way too many people take the idea, and it usually happens to the younger generation, not so much the older ones. That's why I get a kick out of it when they say, romance is wasted on the young. Because it's not until you get a little older you really figure out how important that is. Yeah, absolutely there, Christine. If you're not paying attention to your finances, you can dig yourself into a crater without even thinking about it. I know somebody that went bankrupt and didn't change their behavior. They had every opportunity to change their behavior. They did not. Okay. Net result, they're on the verge of going bankrupt again. In my case, I did actually change my behavior. So my credit rating is just about better than it has been in a decade. Okay. Last year, I think last year, it had gotten to a decent level, but I'm about to, within the next week or two, I'm going to break that barrier and actually be in better shape again. Okay. Now, understand, I'm not worried about my credit rating regarding buying a house. I'm sitting where I am going, I'm quite happy. Where I am, I don't have yard work. I don't have a massive overhead. And I don't have any stairs. So I'm quite content about that. So why buy a house? Especially when I'm not handyman material, really. I've got no interest in actually figuring that side of it out either, which would be a lot of the issue, I think. Now, I got to ask one question there, football. What, pray tell, is PTO? Pardon my obtuseness, but it's funny. A lot of the linguistics today go by three-letter words. Ah, well, yeah, I can understand that on what we got. Too obsessed about work. Even if you're obsessed about work, and I'm one to talk, I'm up from first thing in the morning to last thing at night, constantly on the go. But I will tell you, if you run a business, it is absolutely imperative. Pick 2 days of the week that you're not going to work. Okay. In my case, and now I actually come to think of it, now I can really do that. So I'm going to change my hours properly. Yeah, football says I take mental health days. That's a good idea. Because I'll tell you, there were times when I was working that if I didn't, I had to be very careful. Because if I wasn't careful, I was going to say something that was really going to come out wrong. But I'm looking at this and, I've been still holding the same schedule I had when I was working, right? Where I basically have been working 24/7, right? But I do think, and never mind think, I've always told people pick 2 days back to back that you don't work. Okay. So I think never mind what I think. I'm going to have to reschedule things here. And where are we? Before the end of this week, I will pick 2 days back to back. And I'm pretty certain which two they're going to be. Okay. As far as which ones I actually am going to just shut down the show. Shut down any work. Okay. And I figure, I'm looking at it going, well, let's see. I don't pay a lot of attention to I never did pay attention to Saturday, Sunday much. Okay. Now we already know Thursday I don't work, which leaves me with 2 other days to pick from. But because I do recommend you have 2 days back to back. Okay. Now, doing Thursday, I do work. I just don't go live. Yeah, football goes. I enroll doctors in the insurance, and they accept it from patients. World, how you doing? Glad you can make it. Yeah, from my standpoint, I don't see the doctor anyway. The way I look at it, they keep trying to figure out how my system works. I did the lab rat thing. I came to the conclusion that going there, if I'm unconscious, okay, deal with it. But I told my boys, so if I'm not unconscious, don't bother phoning the doctor. I'm just not that interested. Will I go to a doctor if I absolutely have to? If I have to, probably. Christine, oh. Yeah, that was just cross shadow, which is great. No, from my standpoint, have I gone back to, and I've sent out letters to this effect, that will I actually deal with consulting over the internet now? I've gone back to going, yeah, I do. Okay. I do work with Skype or Messenger. Okay, because I prefer the video link. There's a lot that gets missed on the phone. And that's why I go the route of the video. Okay. But at this point, I can do that. When I was working, it was always over the phone. But in today's world, back in 1960, 66, I think is when it came out. When the original Star Trek came out, they came up then with the idea of the visiphone. Now we've got it. Okay, as in you can see the person you're talking to. And with that in mind, today it's just commonplace. Is it going away? Honestly, with a little bit of luck, no. But if mankind keeps going down the road it's going down, it could be a problem. Now, with that in mind, guys, we're hitting the 2-hour mark here. So again, if you like the stream, do give us a thumbs up. Do subscribe to the channel and then share the daylights out of it. I will be back again tomorrow, and tomorrow we are looking at tomorrow. I believe that came out of Macbeth. Tomorrow is the no, we are on Tuesday. So what is today? I lost track of what day of the week I'm on. I can't picture me losing track of that. Oh, we're on Saturday. Well, it's a good thing I checked. Tomorrow is an open topic, so I will be back then. But until then, do take care of yourselves. Oh, what do we got here? I just cut myself off. Tomorrow on World Show, they are looking at Bigfoot braiding horsehair. That ought to be entertaining. And he is here. Let's get this last little pop in here beforehand. We go copy that. Pop that in there. And this is World Show. So tomorrow, 8 p.m. Central. In other words, 6 p.m. Pacific. Pop in on his show. Give him a listen. If you like what he has to say, absolutely give him a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. Now, I will be back again tomorrow. Until then, take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.